From coast to coast and all points in between. This is the news so far. I am Vincent Moniz. Today I got a great story about All-Star Native kids. And I've got some pretty big news right away, but also police treatment, pipelines on sacred land, and voting rights. Come on, let's take a cruise. In a surprise move, President Joe Biden has commuted the life sentence of Native American activist Leonard Peltier, who has spent nearly 5 decades in federal prison for the 1975 killings of 2 FBI agents. Peltier, a member of the American Indian Movement, was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, but has maintained he did not kill the agents. Peltier's case has been marked by controversy and allegations of misconduct by the prosecution. Many have advocated for his release, including human rights organizations like Amnesty International and prominent people like Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama. Under the pardon, Peltier will serve the remainder of his sentence in home confinement. Allegations have been made regarding Leonard Peltier's involvement in the murder of Anime Aquash, but he has not been convicted in connection with her death. This decision comes as a significant development in Peltier's long-standing case, which has been a focal point for Native American rights and social justice movements. And for me, when we left the Little Earth projects when I was a boy, we only moved a couple blocks away. Down the alley was a gas station, kind of like a corner store for everyone in that part of the neighborhood. Next door to it was a hardware store. And on that brick wall, where everyone could see, it said Free Leonard Peltier. When I was a little boy, my mom brought me and my 2 older sisters to Fargo where he was being moved because she knew this was a significant moment and she wanted her kids to see it. I mean, my dad and my cousin went to different areas in the city, and with Peltier's son, they painted murals of his artwork. Sure hope he gets to see them. Anyway. And some more big news out of Washington, D.C. A long-awaited victory for Indigenous communities. The Native American Child Protection Act has been signed into law, aiming to protect Native American kids from abuse and neglect. The law builds on efforts started back in 1990, when these programs were first created to help tribal nations address child abuse. But funding issues held them back. Now, this new law revamps those programs and establishes a National Indian Child Resource and Family Center. The center will provide critical training and support to tribal nations, helping them tackle child abuse and neglect. Plus, urban Indian organizations will receive grants and a seat at the advisory board table. While it's not a silver bullet, it's an important step forward, and who knows? Maybe this will spark real lasting change. It looks like some politicians are getting a reality check. The U.S. Supreme Court just delivered a major blow to Republicans in North Dakota, declining to take up a lawsuit claiming the state engaged in racial gerrymandering. Essentially, the court said, "Not our problem." The lawsuit centered around 2 legislative districts, with the Mandan-Hidatsa-Arikara Nation and the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. Both voting areas were created after the 2020 census. Republicans alleged North Dakota used racial gerrymandering, but the lower court ruled in favor of the state, and now the Supreme Court is letting that decision stand. This is a huge win for Native voting rights in North Dakota, but the fight isn't over. Another lawsuit is pending, brought by Turtle Mountain and the Spirit Lake tribe. Both are claiming that by combining the nations into one voting district, it dilutes their voting power. Okay, before we jump face first into the rest of the news, let's look at part of Biden's environmental legacy that just happened before his presidency ended. The now former president turned 2 massive areas in California into national monuments, Chuckwalla and Satitla. Ironically, the wildfires raging across California forced Biden to make the announcement from the White House instead of in person. Despite that, these new monuments will protect over 849,000 acres of land from mining and drilling. The Chuckwalla National Monument in Southern California and the Satitla National Monument in Northern California are not only crucial for preserving biodiversity, but also honor indigenous nations that lived on the land for centuries. And as California continues to recover from those devastating wildfires, this is important. These new national monuments serve as a timely reminder of the importance of preserving our natural resources. Minnesota just made a major move, blocking a pipeline project near Pipestone National Monument. Manifest destiny doesn't always mean manifesting a pipeline. I'm not sorry for that joke. Native nations were worried the pipeline would put this sacred site at risk, and rightfully so. Pipestone's been an important place for indigenous peoples for thousands of years. Here's the kicker. Regulators initially gave the project a green light, ignoring tribal concerns, but luckily, the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission came to their senses and is now requiring a thorough review of the area's cultural significance. They'll also have to meet with 14 tribes before approval is reconsidered. It's a big win for Indigenous rights and a reminder that environmental victories can be achieved when communities make their voices heard. In sarcastically shocking news, new data reveals a disparity in traffic stops by Washington State Patrol. Indigenous American drivers are being searched at a rate 5 times higher than their European American counterparts. Despite the years of efforts to address this issue, the gap it's only grown wider. Advocates are calling it systemic racism, and it's hard to argue with the numbers. This isn't just a matter of a few rogue officers. It's a systemic problem that needs to be addressed. The Washington State Patrol claims there are other factors at play, but it's tough to ignore the 500% disparity. This kind of bias, it can have serious consequences, from damaged relationships between law enforcement and Native communities to actual harm inflicted on individuals. The controversy is sparking calls for reform and greater accountability within law enforcement. I think it's time for a closer look at the policies and practices that are perpetuating this disparity. 500%. Imagine being kicked out of the United States, a place you've lived all your life. That's what's happening to thousands of indigenous people across Indian country. A new documentary, You're No Indian, shines a light on the disturbing trend of tribal disenrollment. It's a practice that's been flying under the radar for a really long time. The film's title alone is a harsh reminder of the identity crisis faced by those affected. Over 11,000 people have been kicked out of their tribes in just 15 years. That's like an entire small town just ripped apart. Tribes claim it's to protect their citizenship, but critics say it's a way to silence dissenting voices and hoard resources. The numbers are incredible, and the impact, I'm sure, is going to be felt across generations. The phenomenon has sparked heated debates about tribal sovereignty and the complexities of indigenous identity. This issue isn't unique to the US. In 2008, Canadian Mohawk filmmaker Tracy Deer released her doc, Club Native, which explores the complexities of tribal enrollment in Canada. Deer's film sheds light on the struggles Indigenous people face when navigating their identity and citizenship. You're No Indian builds on this important work, highlighting the urgent need for reform and greater transparency in tribal enrollment processes. This isn't just about identity or sovereignty, it's about the human cost. You're No Indian should blow up really important conversations. I think it's definitely going to be worth a watch. The doc, it's set to stream later this year, so mark your calendars. As the conversation around disenrollment continues to grow, it's important that we listen to and amplify the voices of those directly affected. The Native American All Star Football Game recently took place in Texas, bringing together 50 talented young athletes from over 20 states and 35 tribal nations. I can't believe I didn't get a call to suit up. On a serious note, the event also highlighted the importance of mental health awareness and support for young Native athletes, and let's be real, they're going to need it. Navigating the complexities of tribal enrollment and NCAA regulations is like trying to solve a puzzle blindfolded while being attacked by a swarm of bees. But really, it's great to see events like this promoting unity and support. Hey, that's all I have for now. Thanks for listening to the news so far. Join us next time for more stories from the down, brown, and greasiest parts of Orion's arm. This program is produced by me, recording myself under a buffalo robe in my living room. The theme music does not exist because I'm afraid the entire Wu-Tang Clan will bring the ruckus on me if I use their music. I am Vincent Moniz. Until next time, stay informed and engaged. We're all we got.